So happy Father's Day, all you fathers out there. This is Chuck Watts with Empathy Surplus Network USA, bringing you some Father's Day reflections on our No King's Day that we had yesterday. I hope your No King's Day was great. I attended the No King's Day in Wilmington, Ohio, at the courthouse, and it was great. It was great, and I want to reflect on inviting all the fathers out there who are watching this, and by the way, I really appreciate. If you're watching this, I appreciate that you're watching. Thank you very much. I appreciate that you think I have something to say. And as you know, I'm committed to, I founded Empathy Surplus Network USA, and our mission is to centralize empathy in constant public discourse. So if you're familiar with me, you know that I try to do that because mainly I'm committed to caring about you. I may not know you, but I'm committed to protecting and empowering strong, diverse, nurturing communities and nurturing families that care about one another's human rights and freedoms. I may not like you if I met you, but I've got your back. If you're a human being, I want you to be treated fairly. I want you to be protected from harm, so you can live a fulfilling life, be treated equally, and I hope you want the same for me. So. This is a hard time right now. It's hard for me. I thought I was going to, as a generation, turn over a more caring and mutually responsible world to my daughter and her children. And I'm still committed to that, but it looks like it's going to be harder and harder. And so I wanted to take some time to offer my reflections. I was on, preface all this, I was on a call as an Empathy Surplus member. I was on a video call, a Zoom teach-in by Harvard's Ash Center for Democracy and Justice. And it was an amazing teach-in this week. It was on concentration camps. Experts from when I'm oh goodness, having a brain fade. Look up here and see if I can find it. Yes, there it is. Erica Chenoweth, the Frank Stanton professor of the First Amendment at the Harvard Kennedy School. Andrea Pitzer, journalist and author of One Long Night, a global history of concentration camps. And Ami Fields-Meyer, who's the senior fellow at Allen Lab for Democracy Renovation at Harvard Ash Center, was the moderator, and it was an amazing hour, and I took some notes. But the main takeaways that I had from that video is that because of the cruel wing of our populace has kept, and billionaires who not very many billionaires that give a damn about us. I mean, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett come to mind, but that's about it. But you know, the rest of them don't give a damn about us. I mean, Bill Gates, a week ago, said, you know, talking about Elon Musk and his ilk, you know, the richest people in the world killing the poorest children in the world is not a good look. And that's pretty much, you know, that pretty much sums it up for most of the billionaires. They just don't care. But back to the Ash Center thing on concentration camps. The takeaway that I had was, it does matter that we go to the streets in a peaceful way every week. The more the merrier, you know, every week. And talking about renouncing concentration camps. Can't believe I'm saying that, but renouncing concentration camps. And the reason, according to these historians, is that we're down that road. We're headed down that road we're already seeing it, down that road of imprisoning people. We're, you know, with no due process. We've already seen it with immigrants. Many of them are citizens, you know, shipped off to God knows where, disappeared. We don't know where they are. If you live in a Republican district, your congressman doesn't care. You know, if you're like me and you've emailed him and you're concerned, you know, about their safety and due process, more than likely you get a form letter back, you know, says, "Oh, I'm so glad that you emailed me, and I'll keep your thoughts in mind, and I'm so honored that you are my constituent." You know, it's just utter bullshit. And you know, here recently, my congressman actually came clean, Dave Taylor, Ohio 2, who said he's proud. He said, "I am proud of what I would call the big MAGA murder bill." And back to the concentration camps, you know, that bill, if it gets passed by the Senate, has $155 billion set aside for more ICE agents who, you know, will come and kidnap you and disappear you if you're somebody that the cruel betrayer-in-chief doesn't like. You know, they just come and get you, kidnap you, and if their rhetoric has inspired somebody, they may, you know, some guy dressed up in a police uniform who's a fake policeman may just come up and shoot you, you know, if you're a elected representative and happen to be of the wrong party. So it's serious stuff, you know. And the other stuff that the $155 billion pays for is for more concentration camps. Now, they call them detention centers, etc. But, you know, Andrea Pitzer, and you can find her at AndreaPitzer.com, and she's on YouTube. An amazing woman, very articulate and passionate about keeping all of us safe. You know, she said, you know, the proper way for us to think about concentration camps in America is Auschwitz. She said Auschwitz. You know, and it was shocking to me. But she said, you know, we're going down the same path as Nazi Germany. And just this week, Masha Gessen, on, I think they were on, get these pronouns mixed up, but on Chris Hayes, said, you know, it was 20 years before Putin assaulted and arrested a major political figure. and we saw it last night with Senator Padilla, or last week with Senator Padilla, being manhandled, and the BS about liberating L.A. But I regress. I digress. When getting back to my local area, Andrea and Erica on that teach-in said, individuals have agency, and we'll have this agency for maybe a year, they said, maybe months. We might not have it a year, but we have got to get out into the streets in a peaceable way and talk about and demand that our local city councils and our local county commissioners renounce building or funding or participating in concentration camps. The Fed is already trying to engage local sheriffs, local police departments, etc. And we would like to think that our neighbors will protect us because they care about us. They want us, to live fulfilling lives. They want to be treated equally, etc. And even if they're local GOP members, we see them in the grocery store. We talk to them in the restaurants and everything. And my local mayor, before the betrayer in chief was elected, I was telling him, he walked by while we were standing out on the streets, which we do every week at the courthouse. Every week, usually about Ukraine. We're a sister city. Wilmington's a sister city to Mariupol, Kharkiv, Ukraine. And the mayor stopped by, and I said, Mayor, have you read Project 2025? Oh, no, I hadn't read that, no. I said, well, it says that they're going to build these concentration camps, and they're going to come after the Democrats. Oh, no, I'm not going to let that happen to you. I've got control of the police, et cetera, And I want to take him at his word. I would love to take him at his word. But here's the thing, the Fed, especially this betrayer in chief, has so much power. You may want to, if you're the mayor and you're the city council, you may want to protect me. And I want to believe that you do. You want to protect me and my family and my gay friends and, my homeless friend, everybody out there that needs protecting, you may want to do that. And find yourself that you can't. It may be too late and you can't. And so, Andrea Pitzer and ericachenoweth.com, AndreaPitzer.com, they're telling us that we don't have much time. And others are telling us we don't have much time. And one of the main things that we can do right now is to renounce concentration camps and proclaim our commitment to basic human rights. This month is the 80th anniversary of the San Francisco Conference. June 26 is when they finished the UN Charter. And in that charter, they reaffirmed their fundamental faith, their faith in fundamental human rights. And 3 years later, they actually wrote those human rights down. And so, in addition to engaging every week, every time they're out, in person, in writing, phone calls, engaging our local people, elected officials, about two things: renouncing concentration camps and establishing human rights commissions, supporting human rights, because it's a big deal. The United States is one of just a handful of countries who has not enabled any of the 18 human rights treaties, any of them. You know, well, you may say, well, we ratified 5. Well, we did ratify 5, and we ratified them with a legal declaration. And what did the declaration say? It said we ratify this human rights treaty and declare that it is not self-enabling, meaning it does not become the law of the land under the Constitution. So we, pay lip service to human rights, but we have not enabled any of them. We've got a great legacy. I mean, Eleanor Roosevelt was the chairwoman of a bunch of fathers. You know, she was the chair of all these men. You know, and they wrote an amazing, nurturing document. You know, and so getting back to fathers and to king, no King's Day means, a king is a male. Quite often a king is a father, but a king is not a very good father. A king is not a nurturing father. A king does not have, hands-on parental duties. I mean, we've seen Downton Abbey. We've seen The Crown on PBS, and they're not involved with their kids. They're not involved. And we know what happens to those kids, don't we? They grow up to be, asshole kings or princes just like the others. And billionaires apparently are the same way. They don't care about our family, your family. If they care about their own children, it's at arm's length. And, their kids and their wife better kowtow to them. So, I know I'm going a little long here, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Fathers, at the No Kings rally yesterday in Wilmington and Clinton County, there were a good number of men there. Good number of fathers there. I've got to hand it to them. But generally speaking, there were more women there, and there were kids there. And I did see the family of one of my elected officials, which was heartwarming. But I didn't see him. I didn't see any of my Wilmington City Council people there. I didn't see any of my county commissioners there. I asked around before I made this video, did anybody else see any of our elected people there? Saw plenty of Democratic Party Central Committee people there. And I'm ashamed to say, I wouldn't know very many of the Republican Central Committee members. There were some Republicans at our No Kings rally. But it was distressing, because it makes you wonder, and we've been on the streets for 3 years, and with the, exception of the mayor accidentally passing by, because we were up by the city building for a while. Now we're at the courthouse. With that one exception, they have ghosted us. And so it makes you, it's not just about party, which of course that's part of it, but it makes you wonder, in terms of the character of a human being. I care about them. I don't want anybody busting into their home, and shooting them. It's an obscenity to me. I don't want that for anybody, you know. But, you know, when Padilla was manhandled, thrown to the ground, I mean, I just went nuts. I shot off an email to the mayor and to city council, saying, we have got to denounce this. It's an easy thing to, pass a resolution, call an emergency meeting, pass a resolution, denouncing this thuggery. Silence. I was ghosted. Not one thing from this, one Democrat on the council, nothing from him. Nothing. I've reached out several times. You can tell I'm worked up, can't you? And I'm sure you guys are worked up. So anyway, I didn't see this, but it was reported yesterday that, the mayor was, a block away, sort of, taking us in with maybe the police chief or the sheriff. Anyway, and it makes you wonder, what's the plan here? I mean, the police have been very good to us. We've been on the corner for 3 years. We have never been harassed. But I just learned the other day from a young person, I didn't know that Wilmington, Ohio has an armored vehicle. What the hell? Why does Wilmington, Ohio, with 12,000 people in, rural southwest Ohio where nothing happens, need an armored vehicle, unless it's to keep the damn Democrats in line? I mean, is that what they think about us? I mean, I'd do business with you, Chuck, if you were a Democrat. That's what I heard for 30 years during my retirement. And thank God there were some caring Republicans. I'd have starved if there weren't some caring Republicans. Here's the thing. We've got a person who has already killed hundreds of thousands of people overseas by stealing the USAID money from them, firing all the people illegally, firing all the civil servants. My parents were civil servants, firing them all illegally. So we know that he doesn't mind killing people, especially the most vulnerable. His henchmen, Elon Musk, loved to do that. He took, and we didn't mess around, did we? I mean, I sold my Tesla, and so did a lot of other people. And we showed up at the, Tesla showrooms, because we don't like people in power that hate us. If you're the government, you want us, you have a moral mission to protect us and empower us. That's your moral mission, to provide at least a modicum of prosperity so that we can think we're free and have some opportunities, But, this group now, this bunch of billionaires and wannabe billionaires, they're coming for us. And the concentration camp people at Harvard are telling us that these billionaires and their bloodthirsty accomplices are serious. And those in small towns may not be prepared. They may, I feel confident that they're not nearly as serious as these, as these billionaires and people on their payroll. But I'm pleading, with my elected officials, my GOP elected officials, who are fathers, and I know a few of you, and I see you with your family on Facebook, And you're amazing dads. You are amazing dads, you know, and your kids are amazing. The whole community, you know, can be proud of them because you've raised them right. They've got, you know, they love you, but not only that, it looks like they love us too, you know, and so that's a feather in your cap. But nevertheless, they need to see you step up and get serious and say, you know, this may sound crazy. I mean, I can't believe that, you know, I'm saying this, but I renounce concentration camps. We're going to pass a county commission, you know, a resolution, a city council resolution, and we're going to renounce concentration camps and anything like it. And we're going to send those resolutions to our state and federal elected officials. Not only that, we're going to go on the record to be for human rights. So much so that we're going to start, you know, exploring establishing a human rights commission. Because, you know, we may not agree with you on every little thing politically. In fact, we may disagree on a lot of stuff. But we agree that you're a human being. You deserve to live. You deserve, you know, to be free. You deserve to be secure in your own home, secure in your, you know, on the sidewalks of your town, freed from fear of billionaires with, you know, ICE agents in their employ. So I loved No King's Day yesterday, but it can't be once a month. We've got to do it. We've got to be out every week, and not just in Wilmington. In Clinton County, there's some little burgs, you know, there's Blanchester, there's New Vienna, there's Clarksville, there's Jamestown, there's Sabina, all these little burgs. You know, you have to get out there, and you have to ask your city fathers to renounce concentration camps and to establish human rights commissions in your village, your town, or maybe it's just the whole big one of a county. You know, we had a big crowd in Wilmington, and we had lots of people from other counties, you know, because they didn't have an organized stand-up. But we've got to do it. You've got to do it. If you're not, you know, there's not a stand-up, you got to get a half a dozen of your friends, be as brave as you can, and stand up every Saturday, noon to 1, then go have lunch. Yeah, you'll be glad you did. And, you know, proclaim your care for humanity. Proclaim your love for your neighbor. You know, call for human rights commissions, and call, you know, and demand that your local officials renounce concentration camps. It's a big deal. It hurts my ears to say it, but we've got to do it. So this was my first video. I don't know, it may be my last, but thank you for listening to me. And empathysurplus.com. We need you. Go there. We've given away 8,000 human rights pocketbooks with the illustrated Universal Declaration of Human Rights. When you join us or use a business-sponsored scholarship membership, or when you make a recurring donation, you are helping the cause of making empathy central to constant public discourse on any human rights issues. Centralizing empathy is going to unite all of our siloed interests. We have different interests. But if we can say, the reason I have this human rights interest is because I care about people. I care about this particular thing. I have empathy for and I have a responsibility to the people suffering under this human rights abuse. That's what's empathy. The duty to care for one another is what's going to unite us. Unite our siloed interests to be the republic that we were meant to be, with democratic institutions that serve us instead of these damn billionaires that hate us. Love you, Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. Thanks for giving away your money and helping us, but you know what I mean. So I'm signing off. Thank you. Peace and love.